Am I audible properly? Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So after a long time, I couldn't take the lectures properly according to the timetable due to a workshop. Okay, so however, we will continue from where we left in the previous class. So I think you may remember that we have started the perception and the individual decision making in the previous class. Do you all remember that? Okay, I don't know whether you remember or not. Maybe might have forgotten because of the time lag between the previous and these lectures. Okay, so however, we will continue from the previous part. So it was about the perception and individual decision making that we had started and completed up to some sections. So I just want to have a recap of the previous lesson. Okay, so where we have learned about what is perception. So perception, as we have learned according to theory, it's a process by which the individuals are. Excuse me for a minute. Okay, so it's a sensory process. It's a process by which usually the individuals are giving some meaning and they are organizing their sensory impressions. So whatever the individuals see or whatever they hear or whatever they sense through the maybe the skin or maybe the tongue, the taste or the touch, they are trying to give some meaning to the environment. So that is what the perception. Okay. So if you see something, if you hear something and based on that sensory impression you are trying to give some meaning to the environment or the event happening in the environment or the persons who are around yourself. Okay, so the example for that, all employees in a firm, so they may, some firms, some employees may view their working environment, they looked into as the perfect one, that is the most satisfactory one. And some of them may view the working environment as a hostile one. They don't satisfied with the working environment. So the perception or the meanings given by different individual to the same situation or maybe the same event or the same against the same person may different from one another. Okay, so we have seen what is perception, and then we have looked into the factors which are affecting the perception, so factors which influence the perception. So we have categorized the factors under three main headings. First one, the factors in the perceiver, and factors in the situation, and the factors in the target. So if even the same situation, even the same person, in different situation, in different time settings, or in different work or social setting, you may view the same person, the behavior of the same person in a different way. So the time or the work setting or the social setting is other are such factors which are influencing the perception of an individual. In the same way, the attitude, the motives, interest, and experiences, and the expectation the person holds about may also influence the perception of an individual. So we have looked into like this example. You can see the same person wearing the same shirt and being in the same pose, but only the difference is the background. So that's how even you see the same person, you may find the second picture as the beautiful one than the first picture. So on the only change in these two pictures, the change between these two pictures is the background. So background is one of the factors affecting this influence or the influencing this perception. So those factors are falling under the category of the factors in the targets, like the novelty, motion, sound, size, background, the proximity, the similarity. So those kind of things can also affect the perception. So if you see something very closer to yourself, you may think differently about this that particular thing. But if you see the same thing a little bit far away from your eyesight, you will see the same thing in a different way. So again, the proximity and the similarity. So how you are comparing a thing or maybe a person with the other person or other thing is also influencing your perception. So these are the factors which may have some influence on uh, the way the individuals are giving meaning to their environment, that means the perception. Okay. So accordingly, then we have looked into a theory which is very much related to this perception, is the attribution theory. That is that is a theory that explains why the people are behaving in a certain way. That means whether the behavior is caused by the internal factors or the behavior is caused by the external factors. Okay, so if something within yourself, under the control of yourself, we can call it as the internal one, and if it is outside of yourself and out of your control and individual's control, we can say it as the external factors. So if someone behaves in a certain way, this theory tries to explain the behavior as caused by internal factors or the external factors. Okay. So in order to determine a behavior is internally or externally caused, this theory suggests three different the analysis of three different factors. The first one is the distinctiveness, consensus, and the second one is the consensus, and the third one is the consistency. So based on these factors or three determinants, we can determine whether the person is internally posed or externally posed. So if distinctiveness is really high, we can say that behavior is caused by the external factor. If it is low, it is an internal behavior. And when the consensus are really high, that is an external. When consensus are low, that is an internal behavior. And again, consistency, if it is really high, that is an internal factor. And if the consistency is low, then it is an externally caused behavior. So that's how the attribution theory explains the behavior, whether it is internally or externally caused. So one of the most interesting finding of this theory is the error. Okay, so the bias distort the distribution or the perception. So there are two different errors have been identified according to this theory related to the perception. The one is the fundamental attribution error, and the second one is self-serving bias. Okay, so fundamental attribution error is the tendency to underestimate the influence of external factors and overestimate the influence of internal factors. So when you for example, when making judgment about the behavior of others. So this is the error identified by the attribution theory. So fundamental attribution error is when you are making judgment about the other's behavior, you are trying to underestimate the external factor and overestimate the influence of the internal factors. Okay. For example, maybe someone is coming late to the office, rather than inquiring why you are late today, you just immediately come to a conclusion. This person is not really good. He's not respecting the rules and regulations of this organization, or always violating the rules and breaking the rules and coming late to the organization. So this is an internally caused behavior. Sometimes that person may have come late because of uh, repairing his or her vehicle, or maybe he may have met with an accident. So that externally caused events may have influenced that person to came late to the office. But rather than thinking about the external factors, you are trying to underestimate the influence of external factors and trying to overestimate the influence of internal factors. And the self-serving bias is the opposite of it. It is the tendency for the individual to attribute their own success to the internal factors and to put the blame for the failures on the external factors. So this is the opposite of it. Here, what happens is you are trying to connect it with the behavior of yourself, not with the behavior of the other ones, the behavior of the particular individual. So when you are trying to explain your behavior, what you are doing is you are trying to attribute the successes. If you have succeeded in something, you are trying to attribute the success to yourself. That is the internal factor. So if you have got the highest marks in the examination, what you are trying is you are trying to connect it with the internal factors and saying that because of my hard work only I have got these marks. But when you get fail in the same examination, you say that the paper is really hard, or else these some teachers have covered something that is not taught in the class. So I haven't studied because of uh, a sickness or some other issues. You are trying to connect or relate the failure to some external factors rather than blaming yourself. That is what the self-serving bias. That is self-serving. You are trying to serve yourself. Okay. So these are the two issues or the two bias which have been identified under the attribution theory. Then we have looked into the common shortcuts in judging others. Okay, because there are a lot of information available in this world, and we are not able to process all the information available to ourselves. What we are doing is when judging people, we cannot process all the information relating to that particular person, that particular people. Okay, so in that situation what we are doing is we are trying, or we are using some shortcuts to judge the people. So one of such shortcut is the selective perception. That is the tendency to selectively interpret what one sees on the basis of the interest, background, experience, and the attitude. Okay, rather than processing all the information about a particular person, this what we are doing is based on our interest, based on the experiences we have about, based on the background we brought in. So we are trying to judge a particular person. That is the selective perception. If we are interested in something only, for example, when we go into a shop, for example, a car shop to buy a car, rather than looking into every car, if we are interested in red color, if our favorite color is red and we have planned to buy a red color car, we just looked into the car. We will look into the car which are only in red colors. The other cars which are in other colors, we will immediately ignore those things, and we will analyze about the red color cars only. That is one of the selective perception shortcut. Okay, we because our interest is on the red color. Okay, so rather than processing every other cars, rather than asking about or inquiring about or looking about having a trial on every other car, we are just limiting our perceptions or analysis to the red color cars only. That is what the selective perception. So this is same the same is applied to when we are judging the individuals. Okay, so then second one is the halo effect. That is the tendency to draw a general impression about an individual on the basis of a single characteristics. Okay, so it may be in terms of intelligence, or maybe the social ability, or the appearance. So whatever it is, we are just focusing on one particular characteristic of an individual, and based on that we are judging maybe the age, maybe the appearance, whether the person is looking good or not. That is the only concern that you are having about. Every other, whether the person is having, when we are having the interviews, just looking about maybe the age factor only. Okay, uh, or else something the good appearance only. If we are looking for a position of the receptionist, the appearance and the good looking guy is the only thing that we are looking for. Every other things, every other skills, every other abilities are ignored. Okay, so that is the halo effect, only looking into a one characteristics. And the contrast effect is comparing with the other people. Okay, the comparison with the other people who have recently encountered who rank higher or lower on the same characteristics. So when we are having the interviews, how you are judged. If someone is applying this contrast effect is how you are judged is whether you are performing better or worse than the previous person, because they will set the earlier one as a benchmark and compare your performance with the earlier ones, and based on that they will judge your performance whether you are performing better or whether you are performing lower than the earlier one. That is a contrast effect. And stereotyping is judging someone on the basis of the one's perception of the group to which the particular person belongs to. Okay, rather than looking on the individual characteristics, they are just looking on to the group. For example, making some judgment about a particular individual because he or that particular individual is a female. She just falls into the group of female. Nothing else about that particular individual is considered. Just they have a stereotype. Okay, every females are doing or they are like this. So that kind of stereotyping is there, and based on that, based on the group that to that particular individual falls on, they are making some judgments. Okay, that is the uh, shortcuts. Okay, those are the shortcuts, the main four shortcuts which are used in judging the other people. Okay, so this is what we have covered in the previous class. Anything to ask about this? Any clarification? If you have gone through the reference material, you might have asked something. Anything to ask? Is everything clear about the previous one? Have you all started the assignment? Have you all started the assignment or not? You can go ahead with the themes that you have suggested or given to me. The only change I need to make is adding someone to group. Let me check. Yeah, MS69 has to be added to group 27. That is the only change that I want to make. Other than that, you can go ahead with the team members, and on or before the deadline, you can submit the report. And thereafter, we will have the presentations and the all. Okay. Okay. Shall we continue from the new parts? If you don't have anything to ask from the previous sections. Okay. So anytime you can unmute your mic and ask any questions if you are not clear with the content, or if you need any clarifications. Okay. Okay, so the application, the specific application of these shortcuts, we have seen that there are certain shortcuts applied in judging people. Then, where these shortcuts are applied? Okay, so in which situation these shortcuts are applied? So this is also we have already looked into, but again I will give you a brief description again. So the one situation or one specific application of the shortcut is the employment interview. So few people are hired without an interview, but whenever the interviewers or when an interview is happening, the interviewers are making some judgment about the individual or the candidates. Okay, so what they are doing is whatever the information which is given or which is elicited to them in the early stages of the interview carries more weight than the information which elicited in the later stages. Okay, so within 4 to 5 minutes of an interview, you just enter into the room, and whatever the information you save on the early stages of the interview will be in their mind, and that will have more weightage on whether you are being selected or you are being rejected by the interviewers. Okay, so even whatever you say in the later stages of the interview, that the information which you have given in the earlier stage will be having the more weightage, and it will be a deciding factor of whether you are being hired or not. Okay, so that kind of thing is there. It's because of the perception errors or the perceptual factors. That is why the information which is given on the earlier stage, they are giving more weight, and maybe judging yourself as a good applicant or maybe a bad applicant. Even you say something else in the later stage after some time, after 4 to 5 minutes, they may not consider it as the earlier information, and they may not give the same weightage as to the earlier information. Okay, so this is one of the application of this perception. And this another application is the performance expectation. Okay, so here one theory or one concept is applicable, that is called the self-fulfilling prophecy. So this is a situation when we are having the performance evaluation, or when you are being evaluated by your supervisor, uh, but what your supervisor is thinking about, he or she is like having a misconception, and he or she is inaccurately perceiving that you are able to do that particular task. You could complete that particular task in a very proper manner, where you don't have the ability, but you actually don't have the ability to complete that particular task. But what the supervisor thinks is, you have the ability, you can complete it, and she hopes he trusts yourself, and he has a trust, and he has a hope in yourself that you have the ability to complete the task. But that is an inaccurate perception. When we see the actual situation, you don't have the ability, you don't even aware of that particular task. But because of the supervisor's hope and trusting yourself, what you are trying is, you are trying to fulfill the expectation of your supervisor, the expectation of the second person. So in such situation, you will try to learn those things, and you will try to perform better according to the expectation of the supervisor. So that is called as the self-fulfilling prophecy. So they are perceiving inaccurately about a particular person, and as a result, the second person wants to fulfill the expectation of the earlier one, and wants to behave in a way consistent with the original perception. That is the performance expectation. So that is where the self-fulfilling prophecy, the concept of self-fulfilling prophecy is applied. Okay. And that is a performance expectation. And the second other thing is the performance evaluation. Okay. Although the performance appraisal can be objective, maybe the performance is applied. For example, the performance of appraisal of a salesperson could be done on how many dollars of sales he or she has generated in that particular geographical region. Uh, in such situation, of course, the performance appraisal is objective. When there are three persons, A, B, C, D, and A, B, and C, if A has generated $10,000, and that B has generated $9,000, and C has generated $15,000, of course, the performance appraisal for the person C would be really high, because he has generated more cash or more dollars. But when the organizations are having the subjective evaluation, it's really problematic, because the selective applications or selective perception, the contrast effect, the halo effect, so those kind of things are applicable to that performance evaluation. So those kind of judgmental errors could be happening. Okay. So that is also one of the situation in which these perceptual judgments are happening. Okay. So that is the situation or the specific application of these shortcuts in the organization. Now we will move to the next part, that is the decision making. We have already completed. The chapter is about the perception and decision making. We have almost completed the perceptual part, and we will now move to the decision making part. Okay. So here, the individual in an organization, they are making decision, not only in organization. When it comes to the personal life also, day to day, the individuals are making some decisions. Okay. So how these decisions are made, what situation we are saying as a decision making is selecting from one or more options available to yourself, or one or more alternatives available to an individual. Okay, so if you have two options, for example, to go for a party and to go for a theater for a movie, or else to stay at home and complete your homework, and you have three options how you are going to spend your evening today. So in those, among those three options, going for a party, going for a movie, or being stay at home and completing the homework, among these three options you have to select an option, select an alternative uh, according to some criterions. Okay, so that is what the decision making. Based on among the alternative, you are trying to choose the best alternative for yourself. Okay, so that is the decision making, choice from among two or more alternatives. So individual decision making is thus an important part of the organizational behavior, because in organization, so this is a situation of this individual life or the personal life. Again, the same is applied to the organizational context as well. Okay, so decision making is really an important part in an organizational behavior, because individuals or the members of the organization, the employees, the supervisors, the managers, the executives, so they are making decisions day by day. Okay, so but the way the individuals make the decision, the quality of their choice are largely influenced by their perception. Okay, so how the individuals are making the decisions, and how they are choosing these alternatives, all everything would be affected or influenced by the perception the individuals are having about. So the individual decision making occurs as a reaction to the problem. So if everything is okay, nothing, if nothing there, no issue at all, then there will not be a decision making situation. There will not be a need to make a decision, because so when something some issue arises, or some discrepancy exists between the current state of affairs and some desired state, requiring us to consider the alternative course of actions. Okay, so when there is a discrepancy that you are expecting something, but when you observe the current situation, that is occurring or that is in a different state. So in such situations only the decision making comes into. So that difference between the expectation and the current state is called as the problem. And as a result of a problem only, you are thinking about the alternative to solve that particular problem. And selecting from that alternative available to yourself is the decision making. Okay. So unfortunately, most of the problem don't come neatly labeled problem. One person's problem is another person's satisfactory state of affairs. Okay, so when you see your day to day, the real life situation, uh, not all the problems are coming with the label that it is a problem. Okay, so it's sometimes the people may not recognize it as a problem, and sometimes the same thing you consider as a problem may not be a problem to the other people. So, for example, maybe in these days the people are feeling really hot, that the environment is really hot, and sometimes you may feel really like irritating because of this sunny situation, but the same situation, the same climate, someone may stay really cool and say, I don't have an issue with this sunny weather. I'm okay with this weather. So that's how they may say that. So in such situation, the same thing, the same situation, which is problematic to one person, and that is also a satisfactory state of affairs to the other person. Okay. So how this difference, why the same situation is a problem and is not a problem to other people, is because of the perception. Okay, so the perceptual process which will affect the final outcome. So finally, throughout the entire decision making, the perceptual distortion often surface that can bias the analysis and the conclusions. How you are going to analyze the alternative, how you are going to analyze the problem, everything depends, or everything is influenced by the perceptual errors. Okay, so now we will see what are the decision making models are available for an organizational decision making. That means how we can make the decisions. So we are saying that we have to select one best alternative from two or more alternatives available to us. So then how we are going to select, how we are going to choose that particular alternative. So the selection of that particular alternative may depends on these or may we can use any of these three models to select a particular alternative. So one model is the rational decision making model. So these three models are called as the decision making model. One such model is the rational decision making model. So rational is characterized by making consistent value maximizing choices within the specific constraint. Okay. So there's a constraint. That is why you are trying to select one alternative. Otherwise, you can implement all the alternatives which are available to yourself. But because of the constraint, some constraint factor, you cannot implement all the alternative available to yourself. So within that specified constraint, how you are making the decision is you are consistent with the values and whatever the alternative giving you the maximum value, you are choosing that. That is the rational decision making model. Okay. The rational decision making model is a decision making model that describes how the individual should behave in order to maximize some outcome. That means how you are going to maximize the outcome which will be available to yourself. Okay. So what that is the only factor that you are considering you when you are in a situation to make a decision. Okay. For example, you have a money of 1 lakh. You have two options. That is to deposit it in the fixed deposit for an interest rate of maybe 12%, and or else you can invest the same amount into a stocks and which will give you the annual dividend or the percentage of maybe a 15 percentage. Okay. So you have two options, but the risks and the return from available from two options are different to one another. So, according to the rational decision making model, what you will see is you will see the outcome available from both the options. That may be the interest from the FT, that is, if it is 12%, that is 12,000, and the outcome available from the second option is the dividend available from the investment, that is 15,000. Okay. So you will compare the outcome since the investment maximizes that investment in shares maximizes the outcome. You are going through that, or you are going to select that particular option to invest your money. Okay. So that is what explained under the rational decision making model. You will see the outcome, and whatever the outcome, whatever the option maximizes your outcome, you will go with that option. Okay. So here the 6 steps are followed in making these rational decisions. Okay, so the first step is defining the problem. First, you have to define the problem. What is your problem? What is your need? Well, for example, if you have 1 lakh of money, what is your need? You want to earn something out of that particular money. That is the need or the problem. So you have to clearly define the problem and then identify the decision criteria. So again, you have to identify how you are going to make the decision based on the outcome which is arise from the different options available to yourself. That is the criteria based on which only you are going to make some decision. And then you will allocate the weights to the criteria. Okay, so you can allocate the weights to different criteria. So if it is the outcome is the only criteria, then it's okay. But if you are considering the return as one criteria and the risk as the second criteria, so the risk is allocated, the risk is really high, but in FT the risk is really low. But when it comes to the return, the returns are really high in the SHA option and the returns are low at the FD option. So if you have two criteria, you can allocate the weights to each criteria. You are allocating 80% of the weight to the return and only 20% of the weight to the risk. Then you can develop the alternatives, and based on the weightage you have given and the alternative you have developed, you can decide or come to allocate the points and evaluate the alternatives, and based on the evaluation you can come to a conclusion or come to a decision. So this is how the decisions under the rational decision making model is made. Okay. So we can follow a 6-step process if we want to make the decision under the rational decision making model. So rational decision making model, it relies a number of assumptions. So indicating like the decision making has the complete information, that you have the complete information about the FD rates, the period, the risk related to the FD. Again, you have the complete information about the share investment, the dividend available to yourself, and how much the returns you may exposed to, how much risk you may expose to if you invest the same amount in these share options. So those kind of information, you have the complete information about these two things and is able to identify all relevant options in an unbiased manner. Okay, so just we are limiting the investment option under two, only the FD and the share option. So like how you should able to not only this when it comes to these investment, these are not only the two options available to yourself. Other than this, there are many other options. There are plenty of options available to yourself uh, about how you can earn some money out of this 1 lakh. Okay, 100,000. So that rational decision making model assumes that the decision maker has the complete information and he has known about all the relevant options available to that particular available particular situation or the in terms of that particular money in an unbiased manner and chooses the option with the highest utility. That means that whatever the options give the highest outcome or the utility. Okay, so these are the assumptions made under the rational decision making model, that you have the complete information and you have known about all the relevant options available to yourself and chooses the option uh, which gives you the highest utility or which gives you the highest outcome. Okay, so this is the first decision making model. Okay, form 66, what do you have? From 87. From 87. Could you please mute your mic? Okay. So someone has messaged me like they have made some alteration in the groups. Okay, that's okay. That's up to you. Please let me know the new group list through your rep. Okay. Please ask him to send the new groups, the new list of groups. Okay. Am I clear? Before any stay, please ask him to send the updated list of groups. And MS69, I think. Yeah, MS69, please add your name or add your index number to group number, whatever the group I think you have mentioned group 27. If you are belonging to group number 27, add your name into that group. And again, other groups, if you have made any changes, any alterations in your group list, please make that changes and finalize the groups and send me the final list of groups via your rep. Okay, am I clear? Is everything clear to you? Okay. And please start your assignment as soon as possible. Don't wait until the last moment. Okay. Okay. So the second decision making model is the bounded rationality. So earlier one is the rational decision making model. So this is almost related to the rational decision making model, but the same decision making, the same way of making decision is applied here, but under some constraint or under some the limitations. Okay. So that is what the bounded rationality. So, our limited information processing capability makes it impossible to assimilate and understand all the information necessary to optimize. Okay, so as an individual, as a human being, you cannot have all the information available in the world, and you cannot process all the information available to yourself. Sometimes the informations which is already there in somewhere, but you cannot access to those information, and even you have access, you cannot process all those information. Okay, so the information processing capacity as a human being is limited. So that the assumptions made under the rational decision making model are not a reliable one, are not the practical one, because it says that complete information is available. Is it possible to have about all the information regarding these all the FD accounts available in all the banks in Sri Lanka, all the available interest rates? Sometimes the fixed deposit in a particular bank, there are plenty of options available under different rates, and different periods, and different for the senior citizens, for the young people and the other people. So within a bank, there are so many options. And think about how many branches and how many banks are available in Sri Lanka. Is that possible to collect all the information and process about all the FD interest rates and uh, the periods available to make an investment about 100,000? It's not possible. The same way, if you have a plan to invest in stocks or share market, think about how many options are available, how many PLCs are there in the Sri Lanka, and wherever you can invest your money in those things. And again, whether you are capable of determining the risk of your investment, because whether you are able to process all the information relating to a particular company, the external environment, the internal environmental factors, you are not even able to process all the information about a particular company, but you're able to process the information about all the companies in Sri Lanka. It's not possible. So, since the assumptions regarding this rational decision making model is not possible because of the limited information capacity of an individual, the second decision making model, that is the bounded rationality, comes into play. Okay, so also the many problems don't have the optimal solution because they are too complicated and to fit the rational decision making model. So some problems, this the investment decision is plenty, it's pretty simple, but when it comes to the other real life situation, some problems are really complicated and they cannot fit into the rational decision making model. So in such situations, as human mind cannot formulate and solve the complex problem with the full rationality, we are operating within some boundary levels. Okay, some constraint that is called as the bounded rationality. The bounded rationality is the process of making decision by constructing simplified models that extract the essential features from the problem without capturing all their complexity. Only the most important features of a problem is considered rather than considering all the options available, only the best options or the most prominent options which is available is considered. Okay, so that is what the bounded rational decision making model. And the third decision making model is the intuitive model. Okay, so that is the intuition. So intuitive decision making model, you are not going to uh, like consider about the alternative options available to yourself in making an investment of 100,000. You're not thinking about anything. You're not thinking about the interest available via the FD, the dividend rates given by the share market people or the organizations, the PLC. You are not considering about anything. What you are making is based on the intuition, based on your own thinking. You are just going and making an investment on a share and earning some return. Okay, that is the intuitive decision making model. Okay, unconscious process created out of the distilled experience. Okay, so whatever the experience you have about in your past may influence you to go for an option rather than thinking about or any other options available, rather than analyzing any other options available to yourself. Okay, so that is the decision making model. I'm okay, whatever the groups, whatever the changes you make in your group, whatever the alterations you make in your group, I'm okay with that because I have left you to finalize your group. Okay, I'm not going to influence anything, but I have given you some criteria of combining the group members, like the different gender has to be there, and the commerce and management collaboration has to be there. So that is the only criteria I have given to you to select your members, and you have given some list of members, and if you have made any alteration or any changes in the members list, please update it. And whether the batch representative is here, are you here, batch rep? Okay, so if he is not here, please let your group names, let your changes, let the changes you made in your group to know to the batch representative, and ask him to send the updated group list to me. Okay, is that clear? Okay. Okay, if you have any doubts, please ask. Okay, so now we will continue. So, yes, MS 75, do you want to ask anything? Okay. So, the next one is there are some common biases and errors in decision making. Okay, so when making decisions, the people are making some biases or some errors in their decisions. So, some common errors are the first one is the overconfidence bias. Okay, so when the individuals are making the decisions, they are overestimating their performance and the ability. Okay, so the tendency to be confident, to be too confident about their ideas might keep some from planning to avoid the problem that arise. Okay, overconfidence. So, for example, when you are like making some decision, for example, uh, you are you have just completed your O levels, and when you are in a position to make the decision to select your stream of study in A levels, since you are overconfident about yourself, you are selecting the biological stream. Okay, so that is one of the issue. Okay, sometimes you may not able capable of dealing with that issues or dealing with that the weightages of this biological stream, but if you have chosen some other stream, you might have achieved the better performance, but because of your overconfidence, you are selecting this stream, and you may not able to uh, like pick up with the load available in this biological stream in the later times. So the error you have made is the overconfidence. And the second one, anchoring bias. Okay. So anchoring bias is the tendency to fixate on the initial information and fail to adequately adjust for the subsequent information. So here what you are doing is you are receiving some information in the initial stage when you are in a position to make some decision like selecting a university. So you have talked to some of your friends, some of your seniors who have already passed out from different universities, and they are saying something about the different universities, and even you receive the accurate information in a written format from the websites of the university, you are not thinking about, you are not processing that information, but what you are doing is you are still sticking with the information you received from your seniors. That is the anchoring bias. Whatever the information you receive in your initial stage, you are sticking with, and you are not adequately adjusting for the information that you have received in the later stages through your website searches. Okay, so sometimes the information given by your seniors may be a faulty one, and you might have found the correct information in later stages. However, you are still sticking with the earlier information. That is the anchoring bias. And the next one is the confirmation bias. Okay. So the confirmation bias is the rational decision making model that assume that we objectively gather the information and but we actually don't. Okay, so all the information cannot be objectively gathered. That means we cannot gather all the information available to to ourselves. Okay, so because as a human being we cannot have we cannot access all the information, even we access have the access to that information, we cannot process all the information. What we are doing is we are selecting the information selectively, that is maybe based on the interest, based on the experiences, based on our expectation only we are selecting the information, we are selectively gathering the information. But we are thinking that we have collected all the information. Uh, okay, that is called as the confirmation bias. And the next one is availability bias. Okay, the availability bias is the tendency to base the judgment on the information which is readily available. So, some information which are readily available to yourself, but you are making decision based on only that information which is readily available to yourself. You are not thinking about the information that you are not collecting the information, you are not receiving the information from the different sources. You are not putting any effort to collect the information from different sources, you are just making the decision based on the information which is readily available to yourself. You are not putting an additional effort to collect the further information on these options available to yourself. That is the availability bias. The next one is the escalation of commitment. So, escalation of commitment refers to staying with the decision even when there's a clear evidence it's wrong. So initially, this means you are making a decision at the initial stage, and after some time, after some information which is available to yourself, you have come to know that the decision you have already made is a wrong one. However, since you have already made the decision, you are still sticking with the decision. You are not coming out of that decision. You are not changing your decision. You are still sticking with the decision. So one such the great example of this escalation of commitment is the relationship decisions. You have found a partner, and you both came into relationship with each other, and after some time, after you spending some time with each other, you both realize that the partner is not suitable to yourself. However, since you have made a decision to be in a relationship with that particular person, you're still sticking with the decisions, and you're still living with the same person. However, you have realized that this person is not suitable to myself. So that is the escalation of commitment. You have made a decision initially, and even you realize that decision is wrong, you are still sticking with the decision because you have made it. Okay. So the next one is the randomness error. So the tendency of the individual to believe that they can predict the outcome of random event. Okay. So some people believe that okay, I can predict the outcome of this event. I can predict the outcome of this decision. That's how they think and take the decision. Sometimes their prediction, their expectation may be different. Okay, so different from the reality, but what they are thinking is, I'm able to predict this outcome. That is the randomness error. And the next one is the risk aversion. Risk aversion means the tendency to prefer a sure gain of the moderate amount over the risky outcome, even if the risky outcome might have the higher expected payoff. So the same example of this 100,000 investment could be applied here. So one person, he has two options, but realizes that the risk associated with the FD is really low, but the risk associated with the share investment is high. However, the payoff, so the return from share investment is high compared to the FD. So since the person is avoiding the risk, he doesn't want to take the risk on this investment. He's going for an option of the FD investment. Okay. So, however, the returns are really low. So that is the risk aversion. Okay. And the final one is hindsight bias. That means the tendency to believe falsely after an outcome of an event is actually known, that one would have actually predicted that outcome. Okay. So something is someone is believing falsely after the outcome is actually known. You know the outcome actually, however, he is believing falsely about that particular outcome. That is the hindsight bias. Okay, so why these decisions errors, or why the individuals are making different decision in different situation is one such factor affecting the decision making of an individual is the personality, how the people are behaving, or what's the personality of a particular individual that might have an impact on the decision making of the individual. Okay, so specific facets of these conscientiousness, maybe the people, if they are conscientious people, they will make some decisions in different way, and the people who are risk averse and the risk takers make the decisions in a different way. The personality is one of the factors which is affecting the decision, and the second factor is the gender. Okay, so again, the gender, the females are making decisions in a different way, and the males are making decisions in a different way. They will view the situation, the same situation, in different way. Okay, so women are more likely to overanalyze the problem before making a decision. So it's a common, like uh, comment, the people used to say that the women, they usually overanalyze the situation, whatever the situation, whatever the problem arises, they will overanalyze it. They will consider about many different alternative, and they will consider about the different consequences of each and every decision. They will overanalyze it, and they will carefully comes to a solution. However, whenever the men make the decisions, they are not analyzing the situation in to that much, and they will analyze the situation at a lower level than the woman, and they will come to a solution. Okay, so again, the gender is having some differences in decision making. That is the second factor making a difference in the decision making. And the third one is the mental ability. So the people with higher level of mental ability are able to process the information very quickly, solve the problem more accurately, and learn faster. So it might be expected from them to also be less susceptible to the common decision errors. Okay, so the mental ability. Mental ability means how how much the people are good at processing the information. So if you heard something, if you heard some information or read some information, how quickly you are processing that information, how you quickly you are connecting that information to the problem and the alternatives. So if the people are really high at the mental ability, they will quickly process the information. They will arrive at the solution in a proper manner, more accurate solution, and they are not making much errors in their decision. That is the mental ability. And the people who are low in this mental ability will behave in the opposite way of this, the people who are high in mental ability. And the next one is the cultural difference. Again, the cultural background of this decision maker can significantly influence the selection of the problem, the selection of alternative. Because of the culture he or she has brought in, they may eliminate, or they may not consider about some options. Even they may entirely ignore particular options. Okay, so the cultural differences also can have some influence on this uh, decision making. Okay, so these are some individual differences. So personality, gender, the mental ability, and the cultural differences are the individual factors which are affecting or which are making some differences in the decision making. And there are some organizational factors which can also have an impact on this decision making. So it's around 10, 8, 5, 8, 6 now. Can have about 5 minutes break and come back at 8:11. Before that, do you have any clarification on anything on today's class up to what we have covered? Any clarification, anything to ask? Are you all clear with the content? Is everything clear? Do you want to ask anything? Is it clear or not? If it is clear, please raise your hands. Okay, okay, okay. So please put down your hands, and it's now 8:07 now, and have a 5 minutes breaks and come back at 8:12 around 8:12 or 30. Okay.